Today it is a beautiful day here in Florida. Sweetie, you look beautiful like always. Guys, welcome to the Caminante. This episode is gonna be something to not forget about. Even the title sounds sexy. Reset and reinvent. Mastering the art of starting over. Don't you think that that's sexy? The mastering of the art of starting over.
Is that the look you're going for?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right. So if you guys think the same, this is what this is about today. When life changes, change your life. Don't stay on the same. Success, culture, and courage in your next chapter. Does that summarize it? That's why I find it sexy.
I love it. It's great. Yes, there is nothing more sexier really than somebody who can overcome and just push through things and be a warrior.
That's right. Be a true Caminante.
That's right. So you're right. I'm excited. You guys, it's a pleasure really to be with you. Thank you so much. Every day we wake up, we see more and more people subscribing and just joining the fun here. My name is Tiffany, and this is my amazing husband, Luis. We are your host behind Caminante, where cultures collide, empires rise. And
right.
we love to just talk about that and share with you and be together and do life.
So if you guys have ever felt stuck, like the life you're living isn't the one you truly want, which I think we've gone through, right? Or maybe you want like a new one? You want a new life, a new career, a new country, just a fresh start. If that's actually what's happening, don't be afraid. Just to leap. Today we're exploring how to reset, reinvent, and reclaim your life to take back control.
If you're thinking about making a change or just a shift, maybe breaking some old habits, sometimes I feel like we have these big moments in our mind. It doesn't always have to be big. Maybe it's little and subtle. This episode is going to show you from our personal experience, challenges, triumphs, how to master the art of starting over.
Love it. Love it. So I'll tell you this. When Tiff and I we were designing this episode, we truly started researching. And what we found out, especially online, is that everybody is talking about resetting their lives in different life cycles. Early on, in the midlife crisis, would you say? Or after that midlife crisis that I still haven't even found out yet, I think. But people are talking about it. It's a popular topic, don't you think, Tiff?
Yeah, people crave transformation and newness, and I feel like so many endorphins that are just released when you start changing and starting over. And I also feel like there is this social pressure that is trending. That's exactly what you're talking about. There's this social norm where just starting over, trying new things, so I just think that there's a lot happening and going on, and it's really exciting to think that we can redefine who we are at any moment.
I do think so. I think also the times that we're living in are pushing us to redefine, to rethink, to start all over again. I think I felt that at one point in my life, but it was an individual story, right? I think what was happening now is necessary. The world is changing. The world is asking more from us for survival, for success. And I think the newer generation are feeling that truly, that they have to get out of the comfort zone. There may be a new world order. There may be a similar world order with some changes and some adaptations into it. And people are seeing that. Since the pandemic, I do believe that we all as civilization went through a big reset that made everybody to think about their lives, what they were doing, if they were heading in the right direction. It really made us think about where we were at that particular time. And then after that, all these different things coming at us with, not only the political aspect, scope, but also the economical part of it, that is really asking us to reevaluate who we are in this society and how we're going to move forward with all these different changes that are coming at us.
Totally. And resetting sounds great in theory, but there's so many challenges if we're going to be, real about it.
Yes.
Starting with fear. So, and another thing that is really challenging about starting over is having a clear vision and a clear path. And,
That's right.
That's one thing that I admire about you, because when you look at our stories, we have each in some capacity done this reinvention, this starting over. And what I'm seeing in reflecting on it is sometimes it's big and sometimes it's not so big. Sometimes it can be changing your life, changing countries. Sometimes it can be healthier habits. So you've got this sort of level of transformation or change. But I think I've seen some people do it and they've been like a fish out of water.
Right.
Like flopping around.
Right.
And that's tough to see, but you didn't do that at all. I didn't do that either, because when I decided to make changes, I had a great structure in place and support. But what about you? How did you sort of navigate that just clear path, clear vision? Here's what's happening, and not kind of going here, there, because you can get wrapped up and involved and pulled here and influences and
right. I think, and that's a good question, because I do believe that, and again, it depends on what life cycle you are, but I do think that flopping on the water sometimes may be part of that first step in the process. I don't think that I had all the answers. I came so young to this country, 17. I really was not there, and I really didn't have a clear vision of how that would look like, what was the path that I was going to walk, just because it was a new place, new culture, new rules, new game, right? So I did feel at one point flopping on the water, that I was failing and losing stability, feeling judged by others, but I've learned that those fears shrink the moment that you take action. So I do believe, Tiff, that if you're feeling like flopping on the water, I think it's okay. What's not okay is to stay there and not taking any action. But realizing that you're flopping in the water, realizing that you don't have all the answers, that's the first step. Once you realize that, then action comes, and you have to start taking actions, decisions. And once you start taking that in motion, things start taking a different transformation all along. It only takes for you to take an action to get things in motion. When I used to be a banker, Tiff, and I love to walk around while I was having conversation and talking to clients and customers. And every time that somebody asks me why you work so much, it's exactly because of this. Is as you create motion and you're actioning something, right? The flow of things follow. And that is the same as making decisions, making movements. It all creates energy that gets things in motion. So flopping on the water without taking any action is a problem. flopping in the water, but taking an action, I think that gets things in motion and gives you the visibility for you to then start having a clear vision, a plan, and then realizing what is it that you need to go to fulfill what you want to become.
I love that. So what I hear you saying is you don't have to be ready. You don't have to have all the answers. It's okay to be messy and all over the place for a short period of time.
Right.
You just have to start somewhere.
Right. And that takes courage. So I think what you need to have is courage. The courage is the first thing. Flopping in the water is just one step in a stepstone in the process. But having the courage to take an action while you're at it, to then have a little bit of more visibility for you to follow up with another action, I think that's the key, and that's what defines a true Caminante.
Absolutely. The walk. Keep walking.
Keep walking. How do you do it? Because I love how you do it.
Keep walking.
Keep walking.
Keep
That's
walking.
right. That's right.
Keep walking. When I was going through my program, when I was just trying to change some habits and learn new ways of doing things, I love, and this stuck with me. I learned so much through that program. But one of the main things is take the next best step. Sometimes it can feel so overwhelming because we do have a long life ahead of us, and it does feel like there's so much that needs to be done, and where do you start, and what do you do, and where do you go, and just take the next best step.
That's right. I love that.
And then from there, you can take the next best step. And when we break it down moment by moment, day by day, we can start aligning our life through our decisions with where we want to go, because we're going step by step and we're taking the next best step.
Yeah, and I like that. I'll tell you why, because it really simplifies things. I was actually in a meeting with one of my managers, and I saw that person was overwhelmed. I saw, because of all the different things that come at you and all the decisions that you have to make with all these different things that come at you, right? And I realized as I was trying to explain processes and things like that, it's exactly what you just stated, Tiff, is you got to make a decision at one point. The sitting down and thinking everything about what's going to go wrong and what if and what that. Managers nowadays have to make thousands of decisions in a daily basis. You don't have the luxury of time to sit down and just think about truly what your next decision is going to be. You got to do it in the fly. You got to wing it. And I think that life somehow is similar. Sometimes you just don't have that luxury of sitting down and waiting for that perfect moment for you to make decisions and choices.
Right.
Sometimes you got to do it on the moment and be quick. And that's where I connect what you're trying to say. When you're in that moment, you just have to make the best decision at that moment. It may be the right one or the wrong one. Life will teach you, and experience will teach you to mitigate some of those risks faster, quicker, and more effective than probably 5 years, before of that moment. But at the end of the day, you got to take the courage to make that best decision, because that decision is going to give you more visibility, or a door will open to allow you to make the next decision. It may have been the wrong one, but it will give you enough information to tell you, this is not the path. You got to shift and pivot.
I love it.
So the pivoting and being flexible after you take the best step is what follows after that best step.
So good.
Yes.
I learned this in motherhood, and it was so freeing. The decision that you decide to take in that moment is the right decision. It's so easy to fear can wrap you up, and you can be your own worst enemy.
That's right.
And you can keep yourself stuck because what if this? What if that? What if I vaccinate? What if I don't vaccinate? What if I this? What if I... And the decision that you decide to make with the information that you have at that moment is the best decision. Like, this was huge for me when we were looking at getting married. And I didn't want to, I had so much fear around getting married. And I had to go through counseling, and just, it was so much because, and realistically, right? I mean, did you have fear?
Of course. I mean, you don't want to fail in your marriage. So I do believe that that decision is the most important decision in your life. If who you choose to marry with.
That's true.
Because that person will make you or it will break you.
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line. So I do think that in order is the most important decision that you can make, is the person that you choose, for life.
Okay, so valid,
yes,
valid fear.
Yeah, it's a valid fear.
But
yes.
Resetting isn't failure, it's freedom. And finding freedom and peace in the decisions that you make is going to help set you up and propel you for everything that's to come. We're not trees. We can move. We can change our minds. If the life that you're living feels misaligned, or you don't have peace, or you're not feeling fulfilled, it's not too late to shift. And maybe it's little shifts. That's not giving up. That's choosing yourself and choosing to look for freedom.
I love that tip. So let's get practical and real, because that's what we do in this podcast. Okay, how can someone realistically, reset career or lifestyle? Because it's definitely not an easy decision, especially career. In the middle of it, you may be in your 30s,
that was crazy,
or even in your mid-20s, or even in the retirement, close to retirement part, right? More towards the later stage in your life, that you may have to change career or even a lifestyle. I mean, I know you changed lifestyle in 20s, late 20s, in the beginning of almost close to your 30s.
Mid-20s.
And that was a big decision for you, right?
Yeah, it was.
So what would you be some of the things that you would consider changing career or lifestyle for the audience?
Looking back, it really depends on what you want to do, right? Like but I would say a couple of things that can work for all. Number one is community, like making sure that you have the right support, the right friends. Like, look around at your friend group. Are they aligned with where you have in mind that you want to go? Plan carefully, and start learning and building new skills. What would you say?
So, budget, because any changes that you do, career or lifestyle, may require that you budget yourself. You know what you have, what you can afford, to incorporate into your plan, so that way you know what's realistic, what not, what you may have to do in order to get to that goal, right? The planning carefully, I think, is key. Even though we're talking about sometimes the decision on the moment, after you analyze and you look at all mitigating factors, maybe the best one, that doesn't take away planning. I think planning is key for every success, not only venture in business, but also relationships, friendships, marriage. If we're talking about marriage, is probably the number one most important decision in life. Planning. You gotta plan how that will look like, how we're gonna carry, each other out. I think networking is important. Relationship, you refer that to community, right? To not underestimate it. The digital tools nowadays allow you to really make some big moves, digitally speaking. And we discovered that when we launched one of our businesses. What you can do digitally nowadays, when we didn't have that before, it would take years and a lot of effort and money to just achieve what you can achieve nowadays in the digital world. I think we cannot put that aside.
Right.
No matter what age you are in, I think it's time to accept that we live in a digital world, that we have to become proficient. We have to have the skill set in order to navigate through that and also make our life easier, especially when we're resetting career and lifestyle.
I'll never forget when we went and took those 2-week notices.
Oh, when we resigned,
Yeah.
that was a big lifestyle change
That
and
was
career too.
crazy.
So,
This was my dream job.
and then I came and I said, no more dream.
Like, this was what my grandpa wanted me to do. This is what my father, like, this was what I went to school for. I paid a lot of money in education and master's degrees. And yeah, we both were commercial bankers. It was a great job. We were vice presidents. We were Pinnacle Award winners. We were with the company. I think I was going on 10 years. I was like building some sort of, like plan to get out. And here we go. Walking in, given 2 weeks. That was crazy.
Well, but I don't think that anything that you did towards that role, it was in vain. I think totally the opposite is helping you with the new path that you took.
Yeah. No, it was time.
It was time.
It was
it's
time.
It's just a change
Right.
that it requires. Corporate nowadays, it's very high demanding environment.
Yeah.
It's very high demanding.
But it's stable.
I think it's a stable. The people that like stability, they will choose more career path within corporates,
Right.
Corporate worlds. I've always been somebody that it wasn't more of that. It was more the independence, the freedom. I just don't like people or companies or anything to be controlling me and taking the options off the table for me to make my own decisions and my own path. So that was the uncomfort zone of me that I always was trying to get free from. Is that sense of me able to influence on my career, my lifestyle, have more freedom, independence, time that I could spend with family, traveling, this and that. But I know and I knew that there was gonna be a cost, and that cost was gonna move the stability that I had because I had to take chances and risks.
And you did it very, very well.
Yeah.
So,
But I planned, and I did all these different things that we talk about, right? The planning, the budgeting, the community, the networking, meeting people. I mean, all these different things that we talk about, getting comfortable in the digital world. I mean, we were running operations, traveling, in computer, cameras. So I did all that, understanding the new ecosystem that I was operating outside of my career to truly make it work. So we're sharing this with you guys because we did that.
mm-hmm.
And we did it well. And nowadays it's even more, right? The digital aspect of it.
Right. And the best way to learn and implement and become is learning from others and hearing about success stories and mistakes to watch out for. So what would you say is a common pitfall in starting over? Like, what's something that we could look out for?
That's a good one, Tiff. And I'm going to say it's the experience that I had, my first intent to become independent from corporate, because I tried twice. And the first one, I did not make it.
Right.
It was a beautiful experience, but I did not succeed. And
the business was so good, like that.
Oh yeah,
was so
no, the
good.
pieces, everybody getting together. I mean, it was
so
a different
good.
country. It was in Colombia and Bogota.
And the
For those
idea,
watching me, it was a beautiful project, right? All the different pieces put together. It was a master's, but the results were better. It was not successful, and it did not come to fruition, even though there was a lot of vibe and energy and all this excitement that we could possibly do it. But going back to the pitfall, when I made that decision, I think that I was too young, because I did it when I was probably around 23, 22. And the success that I was having in my career as a banker at that time made me feel that I knew it all. Gave me an idea that I took more of what I could chew based on a little bit of success that I had in the job that I was doing. And it gave me too much confidence in myself that I think, if I think back, more maturity in the matter could have helped me to make a better decision. Who knows what could have happened if I could probably have waited a couple of years, right? I was more mature, more experience under my belt. I think sometimes you have to pay your dues,
Right.
to make those big moves and big steps that you really want to do. You got to pay the dues. And nowadays, I don't think this generation is understanding that. They want immediate gratification, immediate results. They don't have any experience. They haven't even done any type of job. But hey, by the way, I want to be a multimillionaire and I want to do this and that. I'm like, okay, wow.
Right.
Great to think big,
Right.
but you got to pay
There's a
your
process,
dues. There's a
yeah.
process. You got to pay your dues. You got to do
You got to work
the job, the work. And so I paid my dues, but I think that when I made my choice, I didn't pay enough dues. I needed more experience to make it work. Even though the path and how far I took that project was very far, I think more maturity, more experience could have taken it to be successful instead of nothing in the air.
I love that. So
Yeah.
you think that that's a generational thing where like it's this sense of entitlement that people just like are entitled to get the world and get what they
Yes.
like. That's not how it works. That's just
Yes.
not how it works. Maybe because we have this and we
I
get
think-
things so quick
I
and
think-
we don't have to work hard for things.
I think parenting is also a big part of it. Remember, this country, we haven't seen it. This generation coming, and I mean, even my generation. What's the name of that generation? I'm Generation X.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? And then you have different ones after that. You're X, right, too?
Millennial.
I'm millennial. I'm sorry. I'm millennial. That's right. So even the millennials, something after that, we've been in times of just abundance.
Right.
This country just produces abundance in compared to anything else out there, right? And you get used to that.
Right.
And the parents, when they pass that to the kids, it's abundance. It's not scarcity. They barely get no's because everything is accessible. Everything you can buy it in Amazon and it gets the following day. So the kids, instead of building the resilience for no, yes, sometime in the future, you got to wait for this, you got to work hard for this. I think the generation that participated in this process for the millennials, the X, the Z's, and all that, have made things very easy to these different people of these different generations. And that easiness of access to things is what is coming into play now.
Yeah, they haven't built that grit muscle.
And so the work ethics is not there as before, right? That you have to, the understanding that you got to work hard to get things.
Yeah.
Now, because of all these different phases that we have gone through, and so everything is so easy, right? We haven't built that. We haven't developed our mind or our brain to know that you got to do and pay your dues to get a reward after that. Nowadays, it seems like you don't do anything and you get rewarded no matter
Silver
what.
spoon. Yeah.
And even the political scope gets into this, right? Some of these different ideas that are throwing out there, and where you literally don't have to do anything, or you have to be a particular type and you will get rewarded instead of merit, right? You work hard, you prove that you're good and you're successful, and then you get a rewarded. So I think that all that is coming into play. And for this conversation that we're talking about, when it comes to resetting, creating new lifestyles, resetting an entire career, it's going to be for those that know that you got to pay your dues and you got to work hard to get things done and accomplished.
And I love that. I think that a good way to kind of sum it up is that success and transformation can look different on everyone. You know, I've seen a lot. Some of the most powerful transformations aren't loud, they aren't flashy. Maybe it's not like, you know, moving all the way across country. Maybe it's not. Sometimes the best transformations can be quiet choices. Choosing joy over obligation, choosing to honor your truth, choosing the next best decision, even if it's contrary to what you feel or what you may believe. That for me at first was so, was huge, because there were these habits that I had just developed and ways of thinking that were, they were not conducive to this life that I knew was ahead of me. So there was like so much inner work that had to be done, and like inner coaching, and but it's those small, quiet decisions, making the next best step, that can oftentimes really just shift you and change your day to day to set you up for really amazing things.
I agree. I think overcommitting and losing authenticity is not about changing. I think it's not changing your life doesn't mean that you have to lose yourself in the process. I think you can stay authentic, right? Be yourself while you're overcommitting to the changes that you're about to live and face. So don't lose yourself. I don't think this is what that is about. I think it's more about reinventing yourself. It's still yourself, right? But you just start molding it, readapting it, tweaking it here to what your environment is really asking from you, so that way you can be successful and actually navigate through it effectively.
I love it. So if you're in the middle of a reset, or even just considering new ways, I see you. I've been you, and I promise there is a life on the other side of the fear, the doubt, the what ifs. We've been there, and we may be there again. I feel like motherhood is just this incredible journey where I keep going there. There was just an incident that happened yesterday, and you know, it's a journey, and walking the journey with a clear mind, it's better. It's better.
So let's ask our listeners, do you have any stories from anybody that may have shared about some of these resets, some of the experiences that may have had trying to do anything around this topic?
Yeah. So what was the hardest thing about starting over, and how did you overcome it? I love your story, and I love to hear.
Well, I think one of the listeners, and now I was looking the notes on that just to make sure that I circle back, was leaving a job that person hated for a career that she loved, that required learning to trust in herself again. So let's think about that for a second, because you're leaving a job that you hated for a career that you love, that require learning a new skill set, and something that made you to trust yourself again. I feel you. We went through that. I think that experience itself pushes yourself to new limits, to new heights, because I know that you always have that uncertainty, that unknown. What if I'm making the wrong choice? What if I fail while I'm changing a job and now I don't have the job that I was working from with good pay, and I also don't have the dream that I chased for taking this risk. I know that.
And what if you fly? And what if you succeed?
Right.
And what if, so being aware of the voice, of
That you're
our
feeding.
own voice inside our head is so, so important.
And it helps you to overcome truly, because by choosing the positive thoughts while you're
Yes.
making those choices, allow you to have more resilience in the process, allows you to actually have more endurance in it, because it's hard by itself
Yeah.
for you to come in and with negative thoughts and feeding that side of you. It really doesn't help at all. If you are ready and you're looking at that decision of changing career, lifestyle, you got to reprogram yourself completely. And that includes to defeat the worst enemy that may be in this process, which is yourself. You're going to be the only one defeating yourself every single morning, saying, you're not good enough. You cannot do it. I'm too old. I'm too young. Whatever that may be. It is yourself the true enemy. But choosing which one you want to water and which one you want to feed is going to help you in that long process. And I think by choosing to feed, what if I make it work? What if and I'm successful with this new choice or this new change? What if by me making this decision, I can truly be myself? And that's the one that I would choose to feed and water every single day. So every single thought that I have, decision that I make while I'm living this change can take you to the right outcome instead of the wrong one.
And that thinking will eventually become so natural that you manifest this life because of your thoughts.
That's right.
And it's incredible the power that really goes on in our minds. So much happens there. So just being able to be aware of that fear, that negative thinking, that just the voice. You gotta have to be, somebody once told me, you have to be your own counselor. You have to be your own therapist inside your head. In the gym, you should be cheering yourself on. In the workplace, you should be your own coach. You're going to be the best. You're going to be number one. You're going to make it. You're going to get there. You're going to hit the goals. You're going to get all of these things. We have to build ourselves up and manifest it in our own minds first. I was talking with somebody whom I love dearly, and dealing with a very difficult situation. So it's normal to have these negative feelings, and especially in certain seasons. It's not to like be this naive optimist, person, which sometimes I feel like I'm a helpless optimist. Like I just can't help but believe the best is going to happen in the situation because I've literally trained myself to be this way, which can sometimes be a con, but
it is a con if you don't use the other tools.
Right.
It's a tool that you have to use to help you to compensate. It is not the only tool, because then you fall in that, you fall in that rhetoric of, only think positive things and positive things are going to happen to you.
Right.
No, you think positively.
Yes.
But then you also have to take action. Then you also have to plan. Then you also have to incorporate.
Yes.
So everything is
but this person can't even get there because they can't even get out of here.
That's why it's half of the battle is right there. It's in your mind. Then everything else is what we're talking about that you incorporate. It's a list of ammunitions that you put on the table before you go to the battle. And that right there, your mind is half of it right there.
Yes.
Then everything else, you do it as the situation presents. But I'm sorry that I had to cut you up, but I thought it was important because you are not naive. You are a very optimistic individual, and you always think of the best of people. I'm not saying that that's sometimes gets you in trouble, but when you don't use the other tools to mitigate risk, to plan, to see between the lines other things, then it can become a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't want to intervene there.
No, everything's great.
You lost the train of thought. Well, here's the thing. That is our episode, okay? Of mastering the art of starting over. Remembering that every reinvention begins with a single step. Subscribe where, sweetie?
Subscribe on YouTube and make sure you give us a follow on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We are all over social media at the Caminante Pod. We love you guys. We love to hear from you. Thank you so much for your continued support and hanging out and listening. And I'm excited for next week. We have something super, super special. So
thank you guys.
Share with your friends.
This was a great episode. I like chatting with you. I like to just brainstorm and just flow these ideas as we develop the episode with you guys. And so comment. Send us private messages if you don't want to be out there. But your questions, your comments, your feedback, that feed us. That really make us really
inspired. Yeah.
You guys are part of this journey. So if you're a true Caminante, know that you are part of this walk. We are all walking. Do it because I love how you do it. Until next time, thank you, Caminantes. We'll see you next week. And until then, keep following your path because you're the only one that can walk it. Thank you.